p.m. Sailing at 8:30 sharp at King's Wharf, San Fernando. Remember, no glass bottles allowed. Tickets are just $200. For more info, contact Andre 357-3464 or Tasha 494-7879. We cruising 2017. Yo, this is Ninja Crown. Make sure you tune in each and every Monday on Soundcheck the Radio with Ninja Crown and Chin right here on the streets 91.9 FM at 7 p.m. It's the biggest reggae and dancehall talk show in the world. Airing in 26 cities and 5 different countries each and every Monday. It's information, education, entertainment, and sound system culture. Each and every Monday, 7 p.m. right here on the streets 91.9 FM. Champion boy, you know the damn thing. It's finally here. The all-new state-of-the-art party boat, the Sea Champion. It's now sailing the beautiful waters of South Trinidad. This boat is one of a kind, spacious, classy, and consists of 2 decks. Equipped with a fully soundbar, state-of-the-art sound system, and your favorite DJs. Have you ever been to No Man's Island?
It's a hook up on one of these computers here.
I want to see something here.
Remember,
I'm going to try and get this boat.
only the Sea Champion can take you there. Sea Champion can take you there. So people of South Trinidad, it's time to party with class on board the all-new Sea Champion. Call now and inquire about our fantastic island packages, ideally suited for party promoters, churches, and other organizations. Call us now on 361-0560-683-9772 or 281-4723. We are waiting. The Sea Champion. Dare to be different.
Looking to save big? Then shop at Super Quality Supermarkets. Conveniently located at 3 locations. 47 Tissue Drive, Drill City Industrial Estate, 98E Endeavour Road, Chabonis, and Cuba Car Park, Cuba. It's massive daily discounts on fresh vegetables, grocery items, liquor, household items, fresh meats, frozen goods, toys, and so much more.
So
Make it a one-stop shop.
we live now,
Super has wide aisles.
Hi people on Phillips page. Good morning.
Free massage chairs.
So this is what's in man.
That's what's in here.
A super quality
Cool, eh?
experience. So bring the entire family and
I'm
come
going
enjoy
to
the
move
super
the-
quality
I'm
experience.
going to move the
There's
plug.
always something extra in that
You got plug on that side?
super quality. So shop now and save big.
Check on this wall here. Check underneath this table here.
Super quality.
You see anything there?
Not that one.
The only other one I see is behind you.
Yeah, that one.
Nah, I think. Which one you want to
You want to move one?
Yeah, you can move it.
Which one?
Wait, hold on. You're going to be watching TV.
I gotta make space because it's the block. It's like a block. You can put that anywhere else you want.
Just shift it all right a little.
Huh?
A little.
Get me?
Yeah, I'm not there.
This mic not live, right?
No, it's not on. For the radios are here.
Facebook. Inside.
I don't understand the past. Some let me jump and play a mass. We don't care who say we fast. You say, Rastaman, let me a drums to play. Rastaman, let me a drums to play. Rastaman, this is me to play. You say, Rastaman, let me a drums to play. Rastaman, let me a drums to play. Rastaman, this is me to play. Bringing you the warmth.
All right, we get ready to play.
Season's greetings on the street 919 FM.
Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Top of the morning to those of you on the web. That's locking me down live on YouTube. Top of the morning to those of you. And for those of you wanting to know how you can stream live on YouTube at this time, it's quite simple, alright? All you got to do is search us on the YouTube bar. It's 919 FM Trinidad TV Live, and you click on live now, and that's it, you're on the inside. I want to say good morning to those of you viewing me live on my Facebook page. Top of the morning to you. How you guys doing this morning? Whether you're listening to me local, regional, internationally, wherever you're listening to my voice, I say thank you so much for choosing me. My name is Aisha Wells, and I'm in your company today until 1 o'clock. So much is happening in Trinidad and Tobago. So much to discuss. My guest is already on the inside. Let me just let you know what is making news to the hour, keeping you informed. Sick woman trapped in burning blockades in Rio Claro, while a woman killed after hotel hookup. Woman and lover charged with murder while prison officer killed. Kamla defends use for 12.7 billion in NGC profits. $4.2 billion dividend payment help reduce 2014 deficit. Women speak out on hot topics while the Attorney General says only 20 lawyers get most work now. And of course, so many other issues we're going to be touching on during the course of the day. But without further ado, I'm going to welcome my guest into the studios of 91.9 FM. First time I'm meeting him in person, though we have drawn swords on the political landscape many a time. He has taken up the challenge to be in the studio with me this morning, and for this I'm extremely grateful. I'm welcoming to 91.9 on the Aisha Wells Show none other than Philip Alexander. Edward Alexander.
Correct.
Edward Alexander.
Philip Edward Alexander.
Good morning to you, Philip. How are you this morning?
I am very well. Thank you for inviting me, your gracious invitation. Thank you for having me. Good morning to all your listeners. And I want to say, you really are a lot more gorgeous in person.
All kind of thing people listen now. When the man come walking through the door, I say, but who is this? You look much different in person. Welcome again, and thank you for coming.
I think it gets lost. A lot gets lost in the translation. A lot gets lost. People don't understand that, Facebook and instant messaging and WhatsApp, you don't have nuances, you don't have inflections. You can't really tell what somebody's saying In a conversation, we could tell by tone what is sarcasm, what is serious, what's good joke, what's bad joke. But anyway, thanks a lot for having
You're
me.
welcome, Philip. And people, the move to bring him in today was literally spiraled by an action I took on Facebook this weekend, was to share a screenshot of one of Philip Alexander's posts to Facebook that was sent to me by someone, indicating that it had a racist connotation or a racist undertone. It sparked a widespread share on social media, and of course Philip intervened in the middle of the post, and of course we had a discussion back and forth on the issue, and it brought us to a place where we decided we're going to bring this conversation to the national public. He offered to come once it's going to be fair, and of course you know me, for those of you who are accustomed listening to 91.9, you would know that I am extremely fair when it comes to dealing with issues. You know, and I want to maintain throughout this interview, it's going to be respectfully done. Even from you callers that's going to be calling in during the course of the show, I will not entertain any disrespect towards the guest in the studio whatsoever. You will be immediately cut off. Just putting that out there.
Thanks for that.
Yes, you're welcome.
Because I don't mind taking calls. I mean, all my lives, my Facebook, everything I have is open to the world. You could comment without being my friend. And like you, all I ask is that people be respectful. We lose it too easily sometimes. And I like this statement, we could disagree without being disagreeable. I like that.
Well said, Philip. So we're going to start first of all with the post that sparked the outburst on social media from persons who I would say now probably interpreted what you posted differently or wrong. I being one of the people. Tell me, what was that all about?
Well, from what we gather is that somebody, you want to pull this down for me because I'm hearing you here too.
I think it's because you're live.
Oh, my live.
Yeah, mute your
I will
screen.
all right. Sorry about that.
Not a problem. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I think that somebody edited the post to share it because, you know, we just said that in the beginning. Some things missing, certain words could be taken differently to how it was said otherwise. Now, there's no hiding the fact that I am very political now and that I lay the blame for a lot of the conditions of a lot of the poor people in this country, and for a wealthy nation we have too many poor people. And I lay the blame at the political parties. And in Diego Martin West, where I was, this chap was cleaning windscreens and wearing a P&M t-shirt, and I asked why, instead of stopping to use him for advertising, we didn't stop and give him hope and opportunity. And I say it from this perspective. I have known all of these boys. I've known boys doing that there from Cocorite and stuff that grow up from little boys to big men that I know them now, they're friends, and I see where people go and what happens to them. And one of the biggest problems that I try to explain to people is encouraging young people to not have any development at that age leaves them exposed as they get older to having no options in life. And many of those same guys that you don't see anymore have ended up dead or in jail. I know 9 people who are in jail for the rest of their lives for being in the wrong place at the wrong time with a Munoz cocaine bus, and they were involved in moving the stuff. And they've been jailed for $600 million worth of cocaine that collectively, now I don't want to second guess the justice system or the legal system at this point. When we get into office and we're able to look at things from a position of what can function better, we'll be able to deal then. But I don't think that what happens for people at this stage, and if you know Cocorite, Waterhole, Hardin Place, if you know the conditions these people live under right there, and across the road is Bayside Towers, and one apartment in Bayside Towers could almost sell for the whole value of every house in Cocorite. And it's that disconnect we need to confront and resolve, because they say this is the 3rd wealthiest nation in the Western Hemisphere. How come it doesn't show for people like him?
Well, a very interesting position you took on the photo, because when the photo first came to me, I'm going to tell you how I interpret it.
We could push in this door because I can hear
Yeah,
that echo.
sure, you can. When I saw the photo, my first thought was, why take a picture of this young man in a P&M t-shirt to hand him what appeared to be $2 or $3
It was
and
$2.
then
That's all the
post
change I
it.
had.
And I was like, if Philip Alexander is genuine in his cause to help this young man, why not pull this man aside and say, look, I commend you for your efforts, because he wasn't robbing anyone. He wasn't killing anybody. He wasn't lying down at the side of the street begging for $1. He was offering his service of cleaning your windshield for $2. That's hard work.
It is.
And I'm saying, if Philip Alexander wanted to help this boy, why didn't he pull him aside and commend him or say, listen, in a few years from now, you could open a car wash. Give him some inspiration. Why post it to social media with what appeared to be a political undertone behind it?
Because I'd like to follow up this show, if you let me, with another follow-up show, and I bring about 10 of them in here for you.
Sure.
And show you that when I tell you I know them, they work with me, they work for me. Any chance I get to give them an opportunity, I do. But it's not going away. And we get into a place where we've had confrontations between the two different classes that meet at that traffic light. Because the people who are coming out of Columbus Circle, living in multi-million-dollar houses, and having a different approach to life than these young gentlemen, they've had situations where the police have had to come and remove them completely. That $2 I gave him, juxtaposed in the picture, didn't convey the message. That was the only change I had. And I just handed him that and took the picture. But when I shared it, I didn't even mean to share that picture. When I shared that picture, it was just to say exactly what you just said. Why aren't we as a nation doing better by these children? Why is this? When you say, and I've heard other people on the thread, and I keep asking, why in a country this wealthy would his options be wash windows, get a gun and rob me, lie down on the side of the road and beg? Why aren't there, in this country that spends $8 billion on national security, $3 billion on social development, that's $11 billion just there. $9 billion goes to HDC, $1 billion go to CPEP URP. We're spending billions of dollars. Why is it not working down to something that could take this young, vibrant, passionate, hard-working chap and give him hope and opportunity? Why
Because
not?
I'm not sure if you know of my background or my story, but I'll give you a short version so you can understand. While I understand you explaining billions of dollars being pumped into a system that apparently isn't working or working against the people it's designed to protect, there are some people that are managing to get through the system, and I'll give you a short example of them. My mother was a CPEP worker up until a few years ago, while my father was a lorryman on the port. Very humble people from the hills of Laventille. I have 5 siblings, all sisters, and 1 brother. We grew up poor. We grew up making it day to day, making ends meet. Patrick Manning opened the door for tertiary education, and 4 out of the 5 of my sisters got through. One of them is currently a manager at Republic Bank. I am, well, on the radio, having served in political
Absolutely,
office.
yeah.
I have other sisters in the Port of Spain Corporation and other places. Long story short was, my parents couldn't afford to send all 5 of us to university. So it was basically a pick and choose of which they could send. Which one was the brighter one? Obviously, my sister in the bank looked like she was heading places, so they invested in her. The rest of us had to make up and catch up. University of the West Indies was not an option because somehow, don't care how bright you is, once you get to that door, there was an avenue blocking you from coming in. I did a program on this. I applied to the University of the West Indies under Principal Botowari for years. And don't care how bright I was, how many certificates I had, I was not allowed entry. I got through the door through the University of Trinidad and Tobago, built by Patrick Manning. And I started with a pre-university program that brought me up to speed. Moral and short of the story is, there is avenues for us, Philip. We must first want it.
Aisha, I want to tell you, your story resonates with me. We grew up poor too. My parents didn't have money to send us to university. The only time I got to see tertiary education is when I was already 10 years into my working life and could go to the School of Continuing Studies and start to put myself together then. So I understand what you're saying. And yes, situations like the University of Trinidad and Tobago and GATE and all of these things are a wonderful thing. But that is you in a situation, you speaking about you in a situation, you come from a close-knit, loving family, all of you carrying each other forward. A lot of these children that you find at the side of the road, they don't have the level of consciousness that you have, you know. We all approach each other and think that I am a human, you're a human, all of us are the same. But we don't understand that we get in our lives, we get to a certain level where our understanding of the world and how we treat with situations are concerned. We get there based on our environment and where we raised. I can't assume that you have the same emotional toolkit as I. I can't assume you have the same intellectual toolkit. You can't assume the same of me. You may know more things about me because of your tertiary education experience and other experiences in life. And that's where the exchange happens, that we take that and we accept that from each other. But for these little boys who have no idea about where to go and who to turn to, I'm telling you something, that windscreen wiping is a serious hustle and is controlled. And who gets the wipe windscreens kicking back to who controlling which traffic lights, and I know a lot about it. Because it's not like you just pick up and go there and wipe. Somebody getting a share of your money when you're done wipe because that's their lights. You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's how Trinidad is. And they have a saying in the jungle, what gets caught gets eaten. You have to know how these people live and who gets, there's an actual lineup, who get the nod for the day because he's worked well, the people like him, he's get good money, getting a good share, they managed.
So basically there's someone managing them, running this.
When you go on Maracas Beach and you see these little children come trying to sell you bhaji and baigan and things, mommy send them, daddy send them, or worse, somebody who controlling them. Poverty, unfortunately, because it is not managed, is abused. And these little boys, I don't know at the end of his shift, how much of the money that he made remains with him.
Now that is a very interesting way to look at it, because I did not think that there was somebody else that possibly could have been behind the scenes taking away from whatever profit that he may have gotten. So now that's a separate incident to look into.
And the point I want to make to you, and the point I hope to make, because no matter, social media is a powerful tool. Even if we disagree on it, it brought me here and you and I get to have a conversation. That piece of information you just got, I know you. You are going to take that information and make it work for these people, and then that benefits. Out of anything could come a good. The reality of the situation is, we the people of Trinidad and Tobago have to start asking that the children of Goodwood Park and Westmoreland and Cocorite and La Puerta must have the same opportunities. If not, we are pretending at being a nation. And when the children of Goodwood Park grow up to be successful people and the children of Cocorite grow up to be gun-toting bandits to rob them, we've put all of that in train. We've done that as a nation. And we as a nation have to come to terms with that. It is not so much about building facilities as it is about molding minds and raising children.
We're going to come to that because I know that you're now a leader of a political party and I would like to get your party's position on some of these issues. But before we go there, I have a stress tip coming up in less than 59 seconds. And, you know, this stress tip is used to put out there to help the public, but most of the time it helps me. So I really need to catch this stress tip. And when we come back, I want us to talk about racism in Trinidad and Tobago and where we come after so long. We'll be right back. Yeah, thank you.
Dealing with the issues of the day can be stressful. The struggle, the strain, the burden can be too much. Feeling stressed out? Here's your stress tip for the day.
It may seem there's nothing you can do about stress. The bills won't stop coming. There will never be more hours in the day, and your work and family responsibilities will always be demanding. You have to take control. Realizing that you're in control of your life is the foundation of managing stress. Stress management is all about taking charge of your lifestyle, thoughts, emotions, and the way you deal with problems.
And that was your stress tip for today on Street 919 FM.
guys, for staying with me, and welcome back, of course. We inside the conversation with Philip Alexander as we are now into, well, we're still in the first hour, but we're heading in the direction of race in Trinidad and Tobago 2017. How closer are we to being one nation, one people? In our anthem, in our pledge, it talks about every creed and race finding an equal place in this country. But of course, in your preamble a short while ago, you showed that there is a apparent breakdown in equity as it relates to the nation's resources. Yeah, so we can agree on that. But when it comes to dealing with the issue of race and racism, we can't seem to get over that. What is your position on race in Trinidad and Tobago?
The average Trinidadian knows there is no racism in Trinidad on the ground. There's no racism. When you go in the gym, the club, you're lying on the street, you see people walking by. We don't have to say every creed and race find an equal place. It's natural. That's our natural disposition. But a Trini like that, a Trini will draw people in. That's our natural. And I say that's the one thing we have that saves this nation. Our disposition, our natural compassion and love. The Minister of Finance thanked Trinidad for its response to Dominica. Trinidad didn't wait for the winds to subside to start to collect stuff. I mean, that's our natural position. The people responded to the floods in Central. The people responded to the floods in Diego Martin the same way. I don't think that we are we have any sort of racism in this country. I mean, when people get in an argument, you know, they say that's the last bastion of the inane and the stupid. You can't find something to tell somebody, so you go for something physical, like you're fat or you're short or you're black and that kind of thing. So, but I mean, that is, I guess, normal disruptive human behavior. But the politics, when political parties talk about their base, it divides the country. When political commentators speak to parties in relation to their base, it divides the nation. David Rudder, he immortalized it in Trinity the Bone. When he said, how we vote is not how we party. He made the point. And I tell people all the time, that's not a compliment. Politics divides this nation. And that's why the Progressive Empowerment Party, our slogan is one people under one flag. And it's not that we need to do that on the ground. The only place that you need to say that is politically. That's why we're saying it there.
I'm not sure, again, our experiences may be different because we come from different backgrounds, but it's no secret. With the coming of social media, you have seen more and more racist outbursts and racist rants all across the board.
But that's still disruption.
But it's been coming from both sides of the fence.
I'm not saying it comes from all sides, but it's disruption, and it will go on until people like we own and control a page that has about 30,000 followers, and we have a group that has about 15,000 followers. And on both of them, we share none of those racist rants. We don't share school fights. We don't share those things because while it's sensational and we have a real rubberneck society, if you see an accident, you have to slow down and watch it. But it helps nobody. It helps nobody to share somebody else's racist rants. So we don't support or tolerate, we don't argue it, we just ignore it and let it sink to the bottom of the pool. I think that's where we all need to go. Social media is self-regulating. Disruption don't help us.
I hear you, Philip, but some of them are really, really hard to ignore, and I'll tell you why. I have seen screenshots of myself, Aisha Wells' name, Aisha Wells' photo, making racist rants
they do that to all of us.
over social media.
But they do that to all of us.
I have seen it to the extent where I have decided to keep my background photo a particular way. So anything that I see does not look like that, then I know it's not me.
Yeah, but they will still do that. They're brilliant now. And I'm saying to you, you have a name and you have a voice. It is easy. I couldn't believe last night because the Progressive Empowerment Party stood up against the UNC's call for a shutdown of the country. UNC, through Alan Karim, who runs their social media page, and UNC, that page is very divisive. So we don't go there. But somebody tagged me to show me that these people actually, and it's a picture of Alan Karim sitting down with Anna Ramlogan.
I saw the photo.
And there is a post that any businesses that don't shut down tomorrow, we taking notes and we boycotting them. I said, what kind of madness is this? You can't threaten society. And then, when the public start realizing that this whole thing was a play, and they dropped the whole shutdown talk, we get a next post about they're going to be they're going to shut down all the major roads and block
Yeah, I
it.
heard about it.
That's sedition. You can't disrupt a country like that. That is not how we want to protest. They come into a point in the politics where anything seems to go. So if I see a picture of me or a picture of you saying something, I have to think twice. Is this real? How many pictures you get of people in situations? I mean, I know somebody very, very talented, works in this station. Could take your and my voice over the years and make a whole conversation between us that never happened.
I know that person too.
That nobody would know that it wasn't real.
I know that person too.
But there's a lot of talent to do that.
And I'm saying, Philip, that helps, as you say, no one in the equation. Because, you know, you see persons making statements against Dr. Rowley and his family. I mean, you would hear religious leaders coming up and talking about the government that we support and the way how they behave. It's been a series of things happening over and over again. And I don't know about you, but I can talk about me and other persons who would have shared this information with me. It seemed a little more outrageous over the last few years.
Anything that divides a nation is not good for the nation. If your politics must divide, let me tell you something, marketing, public relations, advertising are all tools of communication. Communication is what I do. What you learn early o'clock is find a market for your product and put it to sale. Lazy politicking is saying, my politics, like, okay, somebody sent it, you know, I don't even want to give anybody any kind of exposure for their foolishness. But saying that a political party is for one type of people is counterproductive, because I always ask, who has ever seen half a ship sink and the other half go its merry way? If your politics is not for all the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because even if I disagree with you, while you're in office, you are my prime minister. I could disagree with you to my heart's content. The cabinet, by their actions, impacts my life. So I have to be clear about that. What the cabinet has to understand, and this is where we have a problem, is when we get people with racist overtones into government who do not understand that what they do inside of there must be to the benefit of all the people of Trinidad and Tobago, or they have failed at the oath that they swore when they took public office.
My thing is this, Philip. At the end of the day, as a nation, if we intend to go forward, that type of behavior must have no place in our politics. And I'm agreeing with you in that regard.
Your Attorney General built a reputation on saying no ad hominem attacks. Ad hominem is Latin for about the person, about the body. Don't attack the person. And I agreed with him. Yet every time we get something from the parliament, every second thing is racist, or now I'm getting plenty homosexual overtones coming out of the parliament. We hearing things like this one who don't like this one clothes, and this one who they hanging out with, and those kind of things. Not beneficial to anybody. Because at the end of the day, you and I are people. And we are entitled to be whatever people we want to be. We come from something. Okay, accept that and move on. There's an ad I just passed on the highway. I love the ad. It says, women have periods, move on. And there's an ad for feminine hygiene products.
Right.
We are all different. That's what makes us the same. Move on. How are we so insipid that what we will search to find is what divides us? And again, the problem I'm having with it is it only happens in politics. People cheered for Birchall with the same fervor they was cheering for York. We are not a racist people on the ground. There are people among us who have nothing to bring to the conversation but want likes and shares. At the end of the day, they like to know that the people paying attention to their foolishness. We, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we have to stop rewarding that kind of behavior by our attention.
You have been, well, you know, the pictures are out there that you have been close to the former Prime Minister, opposition leader. Have you shared some of these suggestions with her, having been so close to her? Because from what it appears, the racist behavior is cheerleaded, I want to use that word, around her supporters and members of her party, and I'll tell you why. You will hear a conversation like, when she is Prime Minister, when Sat speaks, he speaks for us. you will hear a conversation from them, it's our time now. And it always appears
Yeah, but that
to
foolishness,
center
that
around
foolishness
that
coming from
kind of
both sides.
behavior.
That foolishness coming from both sides. But I want to tell you this. I've had more conversations with Keith Rowley than I've had with Kamala Persad-Bissessar. There are pictures out there too with me and Keith Rowley. I have been part of the round table of the PNM when I was the communications advisor to Gary Griffith. There were pictures of me when they had a meeting in Diego Martin. There's one picture that my son was happy to take of me sitting down next to Kamala, talking to her because she had just walked in. But when I was there, I want to tell you this, and you could bring Gary Griffith on this radio station tomorrow. You call Gary Griffith on the phone. I am his communications advisor. And every Monday morning, Gary Griffith have to call me into his office and tell me they want me fired because they disagree. My stances on public issues do not change if I support you in government, you know. In fact, if I support you in government, I'm going to hold you to a higher standard. My position on when the UNC was deifying Kamala with the billboards, Jerry Hadid get vexed with me for that. He said, you know how much money that cost us? I said, that's not the point. You have to deal with the entire nation and unite the entire nation, or we're making a mess of our own bed. At the end of the day, politicians have it nice, you know. They jump in there and they get the big money and they get their fancy cars half price and they're living up nice. And all these politicians somehow come out of office fabulously wealthy, that if tomorrow Trinidad burn down, they're on a plane. It's the rest of us have to live in the ashes. And we have to pay attention to that. Politicians now, and the Progressive Empowerment Party tells Trinidad and Tobago this. Until we have recall legislation, which is a fancy way to say, if I could hire you, I could fire you. Until we have recall legislation that puts the power back in the hands of the people, because politicians will tell you anything they think you want to hear to get our vote, you know. And if they knew that you also had the power to take it away, the behavior of politicians from all sides will change. The Progressive Empowerment Party says, the first act we do, the first day we in office, is to enact recall legislation. It exists in the Commonwealth. Copy and paste. We will make sure that the people, through the same elections and boundaries and commission, could pull out a petition and petition the state to call a by-election. We recall our member of parliament. He's not doing what he said or she said.
But wasn't that also part of the UNC's
Never the UNC. That was the Congress of the People. And I was a member of the Congress of the People. And a lot of us in the Congress of the People, the reason the Congress of the People members have abandoned the Congress of the People with disdain and contempt is because that's how they treated us when they had access to power. And Winston Dukaran and Prakash Ramadan have to take licks for that. Because the Congress of the People stood on principles that were supposed to direct the People's Partnership. A lot of us resigned when the Congress of the People joined with the UNC, you know. The Congress of the People had no interest in that in the beginning. And we were given assurances that certain things would not be allowed. And so said, so not done. Because we didn't get recall, we didn't get referendum, we didn't get fixed election date, we didn't get campaign finance reform. They're bandying these things around for the longest while. If you had campaign legislation that said in Port of Spain South and Diego Martin West, Toco Manzanilla, Tobago East, each candidate is allowed to spend for the 6 weeks of the election $100,000. If you spend $1 more than that, your candidacy will be disqualified. The game will change. You're no longer going to have deep pocket financiers drowning the conversation and changing how the country runs.
That's very interesting. And we're going to talk about your political party and the direction it intends to go in. However, Philip, I am wary of persons bringing new movements, organizations, or political parties to the table, and I'll tell you why. We had a man called... What was this damn man?
Stephen Cadiz.
That's the man.
Any light-skinned person show up anywhere, and I tell Stephen that all the time. Stephen dragged... Yeah, but you see, Stephen never had a plan, you know. Stephen Cadiz dragged Keith Noel Kaufman all over the country, and you know what? It did whatever it was supposed to do. Where Stephen Cadiz went wrong is where Stephen Cadiz used that as a platform for himself to get involved politically. And I asked him, and you could see, because I dogged that man. Stephen Cadiz's wife was my son's school teacher, and we love her. And I dogged Stephen Cadiz for his entire career and asked him, what about Keith Noel?
Keith Noel's family. I interviewed them here a few
What
years
about Keith
ago,
Noel?
and it was really painful
But
for
absolutely.
the family to have seen
But you cannot.
Keith Noel's name being or used as the catapult to get Stephen Cadiz into office.
I don't think that it was so at the start. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I want to believe, like we have members in the Progressive Empowerment Party that when they step out and people see that they have ability and talent, the other parties come sniffing around trying to attract them to there. Political parties look for people who are electable. But Stephen Cadiz was supposed to do better, know better. But I want to tell you something. You cannot use Stephen Cadiz as a measure. I'll tell you why. As a good-looking woman, I am sure that you've had many different boyfriends in your life. And I'm sure some of them, you fire them for reasons you alone would know that is unacceptable to you. You can't judge every other boy coming down the road like that man. And Stephen Cadiz, the only approximation to what anybody else does to Stephen Cadiz is that, unfortunately, he was a light-skinned man. But I want to tell you this. Forming a political party in Trinidad and Tobago has to be one of the hardest things that you could do. If you are an intelligent, driven, compassionate person and have patriotism for this country, you're really not going to find it in one of the existing parties if what you want is betterment for people, to be honest. And I'm just saying that and I point that out there. But to form a new political party, we have all those hurdles to cross. You're not white enough, you're not black enough, you're not Indian enough, you're not rich enough, you're not poor enough, you didn't come from here enough, you didn't come from there enough. You're not saying enough of this, you're not saying enough of that. And then there's Stephen Cadiz because you're skin light. But the reality of the situation is, you and I need to understand that that shouldn't be sufficient grounds to continue staying with two parties that cannot answer for the condition of our justice system, our police service,
Philip,
our healthcare sector, our
good.
education. No, but I want to tell you, when you get that little boy, you brought me in here with him. If I force him to go to school and waste 5 years of his life, 95% of our schools failing these children. They leave in school functionally literate, just enough knowledge to run a cash register in KFC or hold a baton for amalgamated security guard. This is a reality that we have to confront and resolve.
And that's all well and good, Philip. But at the end of the day, the racism in this country seems to be institutionalized. You'll find it in the public service. You'll find it in the prison service. You'll find it in positions where you can tell it's embedded. There are persons who are employed in organizations, and when you do your research and your background check, it's because they know somebody who did know somebody
Absolutely.
who did know somebody
Absolutely.
who put them there.
Absolutely.
And their main agenda
That has
is
to change.
offset
but
everything
that has to
that's
change.
coming on
Listen.
stream. It's there, Philip. We can't pretend they don't exist,
And we not only can't we not pretend it exists, we have to confront it. We can't shy away from it. We have to have these conversations. I love the saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. We want the Progressive Empowerment Party to be a rising tide. Don't tell us something. Our party, I don't want to call any names, but come and meet. Let me bring the
18
executive.
seconds before the next break. Stick a pin. We'll come right back with that. Stay with me. We're not going anywhere. We're going
Stick
for
a
a break.
pin.
Yeah.
You need bottles.
Philip, what you're saying sounds excellent. If I can get a political party to honestly carry that agenda, I will be the first person to sign up in the
Go on
morning.
my friends list.
But
Fine.
I am wary
Go on my
because
friends list.
people come. 1 minute, Philip. People come
This
with
is
their
not
agendas.
a one-man party.
They come with their agendas. There are people who would come to you and say, do this, do that, vote for us, and things are going to be different. And at the end of the day, nothing happens.
Like you, I'm this long time.
Nothing happens.
Like
And
you,
I reached a point where I fed up and tired of them. I think by now everybody know I had the biggest mouth. I'm saying it live. I'm saying it live here. I'm saying it live here. I'll say it on the radio. I have said it. My listeners understand me, and the reason why we so tight on this program is because they know I will speak the truth and don't care how people feel about
The day
it.
that becomes our reality, the day all of us could stand up against political parties and ignore whatever race they coming from, the day we could stand up for country regardless of who in office, this entire country changes. The only advantage they have over us is they separate us.
And I hear you.
Your battery died?
Yeah, one plug it in over here. But my whole situation is this, Philip. At the end of the day, there are people out there who use other people to get into office, and at the end of the day, nothing comes out of it.
But if
I don't intend to play those games.
no, but you, for all the ability and knowledge you have, if you wanted to just be in government, they have people who have passed through governments that don't have 10% of the knowledge and ability you have. If you dedicated yourself to just getting yourself in government, you would have been in government already. Clearly, you want something more.
But my thing is not about being in
Exactly.
government. Okay, let me put it this way. I don't know how to toe party lines. I've never done it. I don't know how to do it.
That's why we both here.
That's just me.
But that's why we both here.
I don't know how to do that. What I do know how to do is express how I feel and the views of the people that I represent, the community that I come from. I do that well. So for those who may assume that it benefits them.
But that's why I'm on the show. Because we could cross all the swords in the world. I've been watching and seeing your contribution. And I feel and I sense that what you really want is a better Trinidad and Tobago. And anybody who wants a better Trinidad and Tobago, that's the conversation we have to have. It's not about who did what and who come from where. We all was in a party. We was all trying to find it. We were all trying to manipulate through some political organization to get it to work. They tell us everything they wanted us to hear. And when they get into office, fireburn you because the special interests, the financiers, the people who control politics in this country. We are watching the same people make money regardless of which party in power. It had to choke PNM people to watch Rohan Sinanan give his nephew Kalu.
I don't know if that's his nephew, but that's some relation. But all of that is well and good, Philip. That's fine. Politicians attract financiers, and financiers don't leave from being businessmen to want to work for people like me and you. There's always an incentive. So let me be real.
I could bring my finance team in here.
Let me be real. There will be people who would flock to spend their money where they see they can get into. Businessmen and investors, that's what they do.
Absolutely, but we only take in investors who are interested in a better Trinidad and Tobago. We've had people come to us and they realize that they're not getting anything other than, hey, if you make a contribution. Because our chairman and the chair of our finance department and our treasurer, these are serious people. These are not people who are out there looking for a hustle and a beg. Karen Brown, our treasurer, has a life disease and he's in pain all the time. And he comes to do this. He's not doing this for bullshit. He's doing this out of love of country. Felicia Hall, our chairman, Sharon Wilson is our finance chair. She was in the PNM, in the heart of the PNM. We are a party built out of everybody who were never satisfied with what the other parties were offering in relation to what we're looking for a better nation. We want to end racism, we want to end corruption, and we want a better country. We want 5 things, that everybody could own a home. Everybody could own a home. Everybody children get a good education. Everybody have access to good health care. Everybody could afford food and everybody safe and secure. You see the rest? I don't care who give who what contract, once everybody else have that. That's our position. Straight up.
I hear you, Philip.
This is the smallest cup. You see this cup?
I hear you, Philip, but at the end of the day, racism, just not 1 minute. Hello? 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 Yes, Jabir couldn't find his timetable, but I'll find it, so I'll call you back on radio now.
Alright, no problem.
Yeah. That's my father.
I tell you, my mom, they be calling me all day too. Listen, anybody who close by, what street is this? Maraval Road, and they want to drop a bottle of water for your boy, because look at what they give me as a cup. And it's 3 floors and a client to fill it.
But I don't know how to explain
Saturday,
to you.
listen, Saturday at noon, this Saturday come in here at noon, 19th stand morning. You think you could challenge me here? Come and challenge me there. Come and talk to the whole team. Come and see people. You might show up Monday in this radio station in Orange. I
doubt it.
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you.
I'm just simply saying I have decided, and I've said this on radio, this is no news.
Then
I refuse to wear colors associated with political parties.
It's not that. It's not a political party.
I'm not doing
it's an
that.
ideology. You know why we wear orange?
I am not that person.
You know why we chose orange?
The UNC is affiliated with orange to some extent. They chose that as their color,
we chose orange because they divide the country red and yellow. Red and yellow makes orange. So we choose a color that we say, you know what? Everybody's safe. Our symbol is an umbrella. Everybody's safe under the umbrella. That's it.
I I hear you, but I'm just simply
Saturday
saying,
at noon. I
I
tell you.
hear you. Saturday at noon is
Felicia
fine.
Holder, go on my Facebook, find her, add her as a friend. Felicia Holder is the chairman of the party. Tell her you come
That's
in.
fine.
Come on.
I can
do
come
your,
and I would probably ask a million
do
questions
your live,
and
do
I'll
it
probably
live.
upset some people by me
Upset
coming there.
everybody.
But guess what, Philip?
Come.
At the end of the day, I think it's my responsibility to talk for those who are not in a position to speak for themselves.
Absolutely.
And there is a cross section of this society that is bent on being destructive. They hell bent on being destructive as though it's in their nature. They talk about you as though they know you. They talk about you as though they live in your home, as though they went to
she's speaking
school
for
with
me.
you,
But she's
as
speaking
though
for
they
me.
know anything about
Honey,
you, and they don't.
that's
They
my
just
day
have
and my
a big
night.
hole in their face, and they just feel to talk.
I get messages
So-
on Facebook. You see what this one say? You see what that one say? And at a point, you already decide, am I going to spend the rest of my life suing people? Or am I just going to, but you know what? Like you have people that say things and then people say, this nonsense again. Or they're tired talk stupidness about people. The reality of the situation is like you. I'm available to anybody to talk anywhere. You see me in movie town, you see me downstairs by the car park, you can walk up to me and talk. I am the same person. I like the fact that my parents, my family, my school teachers support me, uncles, people that I know growing up as uncle and auntie. When you come to the meeting, and I tell you something, when those people could support you, who know you from a child, growing up running in their house, eating their food, when they could support you, when you're school teachers, I have deans from St. Mary's College on our team.
Imagine, Philip, there are people in this country who judge you based on the fact that they perceive you to be PNM or UNC.
And that's why
We live in a country
that's why we need an
where
orange party.
people refuse
We need an orange party for that.
to do this and that for you because they perceive you to be one way or the next. I really and truly have zero tolerance for that kind of thing.
And that's what I said just now to you.
I agree with you. I really don't. I can't afford
That's what I
to
said.
have.
That's what I said to you. The hardest thing to do is start a political party, because the first thing you are across is that divide. PNM calling you UNC and UNC calling you PNM. That's what you are across. You have to cross that, because if you fight a UNC policy last night, all there was always a PNM, and you stand up
No,
against the PNM.
I think
this is what we're dealing with every day by getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
I don't think my place, and I'll just be real with you, I don't think my place in this politics, if I have to play one, is outside of the PNM, because I'll tell you why. I come from a third generation PNM. You ever met a family whose grandmother had on her wall Eric Williams, the white Jesus, and your grandfather all on the same line? You didn't know who was who? That's the background that I come from. My grandmother in love with Eric Williams. My mother come up in Chambers and Manning days, and then now I live for Manning and Rowley. I'm saying all of this to say, I come from a community that still up to today believe PNM is the solution to take them out of the problems that they are in. The only way that I can help this community is by operating from in the very same mold and structure that they believe can change them.
Because they will tune you out if you come from somewhere else, yes?
Not necessarily.
No, but I mean,
I don't think they believe anybody else can help. I'm being real with you. I don't believe that they believe anybody else can help.
I know, and the responsibility is doubly and triply hard if you come from outside of those two parties, because not only are you being fought from both sides, your policies, plans, programs have to be so spot on, and you're not allowed a mistake. You're not allowed a mistake. You're judged harsher than any other political organization. That's the reality.
We're getting ready to go back in less than 2 minutes.
I think we need to send forward.
Bringing you the joy of the season.
Happy holidays.
On the street, 919 FM.
Alright, so we're back. The discussion was really heated off camera, and for those of you viewing on the live, I know you heard it straight on, so I'm just going to give you a piece of what we discussed. We discussed, of course, racism and going forward as a nation. Philip explained that he's having a meeting. When is your meeting?
Saturday noon.
And he invited me to
standing.
attend the meeting, and I was basically telling him, as much as I hear what he is saying, and my key reason for not believing that anything new can fix the problems of my community is because I'm a third generation PNM. And yes, there is such thing as a third generation PNM, because my grandmother had a picture of Eric Williams on she wall next to white Jesus and next to my grandfather. So you couldn't tell who was who in her house.
I like-
Can't say nothing. I had to talk about the YG.
I like YG.
Yeah, I had to
I
talk
like that.
about
I like
it.
that.
Because up to now, I still can't, you know, but
No, I
that's
read-
another discussion for another time.
No, but I read somebody who posted this on Facebook, and I say, you know what? You know, you don't think that some people, they're so critical in their thinking. They say, this woman, she worked 4 jobs just to buy this child his Christmas present, for him to wake up Christmas morning and think a white man with a beard come through the chimney and
That's
leave it.
wicked. You know, so, yes, I'm saying what I have to say. My mother
We
is
have-
Chambers and Manning.
We have things to fix. We have
I
things
am
to
a Manning
fix.
baby
We have things to
and now
fix.
governed by
We have
Kate
things to
Rowley.
fix.
And there's a whole generation and community of people that believe in the institution called the PNM. It's no accident that it stayed for 50-something years. It's because people deep down in their hearts believe the institution can help them. And for me to help my people, Philip, I'm just going to be real with you. I have to do it from inside the avenue that they believe can help them.
I wanna tell you-
Outside of that, I,
don't
will
wanna-
be spinning
I
top
don't
in
want
mud.
to. I don't want to disagree with you, but the outcome of the 1986 election, because the father of the nation was Eric Williams, and to turn your back on the party then, that was a tremendous shift in Trinidad and Tobago when the NAR won, and they won with such an overwhelming victory, and it's not because PNM people stood down. PNM people made a different choice. And they made a different choice based on what they think needed to be changed in the country. At the end of the day, it is easy to separate people and say, if you vote for me, I'll take care of you alone. It's easy to do that to get power, but you're not an effective leader. To be an effective leader, you must make sure that if you say that your policy is everybody owns a home, everybody owns a home. I shall want to ask you a question. Do you think that it is fair that people in this country, no matter how hard they work, 99% of them will never be able to own a home?
I think, and this is my view, from the beginning of time with governance, there were people who decided that they were going to own a home by any means necessary through hard work and success. My grandparents worked on the plantation for much less than what people working for now. And there are some of our society, probably your grandparents, who boarded a ship here with no real dollars but knew that they were going to make it. And then there were a cross-section of our society that cut cane for a living and sent their children to school. But the moral of the story is they all started through hard work.
Yes, but...
And hard work, Philip, brings success.
Yes.
If you make up your mind
Okay.
that you are going to own your home, you're going to own your home, you know.
Yes.
You don't have to sit down and wait
I
for
agree.
a government to give
No,
it to
I
you.
agree with you. I agree with you. But I'm saying to you that it shouldn't be such a Herculean task. Home ownership. If you made home ownership a linchpin of governance in this country, you wouldn't have to spend. You'd spend 10% of the money you're spending on national security on it. You wouldn't have to have more prisons. You wouldn't have the amount of homeless and drug-addicted people and people with matters before the courts. The family is the foundation of society, you know. The community is the heart of the country. A nation is a collection of communities. We are all transient people now. We born in Diego Martin, grew up in Woodbrook, living in Sour. We have no community roots and community ties. How are we supposed to function as a nation? The money that we gave Clico, because we never get our money back, you know. I'll tell you something. We took that money out of the system for 8 years now. $25 billion. 8 years now. You know, if we had taken that $25 billion and put it in Citibank on a certified deposit for 10 years, we would have earned by now $20 billion in interest. So not only did we lose the initial $25 billion, we've lost the $20 billion that it could have brought in interest, but stick up in there. Focus on the first $25 billion. A starter home, properly done in this country, you could build starter homes 1,000 square feet for $100,000.
Have you seen some of these homes that they built? and
I
put
don't
people
want to
in?
look at it because it is foolishness, it is nonsense. It is a waste of money, it's a waste of time. The HDC's function is to enrich financiers and frustrate poor people. I didn't want to talk about the HDC. I am telling you, $1 million could build 10 starter homes, proper starter homes. And if $1 million could build 10 starter homes, then $1 billion, which is $1,000 million, could build 10,000 starter homes.
I want to give
10,000.
you my
We
position
gave
on it.
Clico $25 billion. If you took 10 billion out of that $25 billion, you could get 100,000 starter homes. You know where that is? That's Morva, Beetham, Lavantil, Sealots, Abipujad, Lansbitan, Big Yard, Covey, Mason, Rich Plain, Factory Road. All of these people are needing a handout. Not a handout, because you give these people a $100,000 house and you tell them your mortgage is because our policy is zero deposit, zero interest for 30 years. That means you will pay your mortgage, but your mortgage is $500 a month, and you'll pay that $500 a month because poor people have pride, and you give them hope and opportunity, they will live up to their obligations. And I feel that that is the solution to a lot of the problems in this country. Give the people hope and opportunity. Make home ownership job one in Trinidad and Tobago.
My thing is this. Philip, I hear you with these starter homes, but I don't know if you ever lived around a community that have these type of home settings where they put you in a little 2x4 and you live on top of somebody and somebody live beneath you. I'm talking about these buildings and so-called starter homes and projects that they have across the country that is a breeding ground for criminal activity. I live in the community where that is the case. And for years, I've talked about the fact that there are good people living in these communities, but they overshot by the bad. As a counselor,
Because the community designed to fail. But the community
as
designed
a
to fail.
counselor, I had an issue, and Jillian John could bear me out on this because we had a very good working relationship. In fact, I think she's an excellent person. I always talk good about Jillian when I talk about her.
She's a go-getter.
You can't say nothing bad about Jillian. Two people you can't talk bad about here is Munilal and Jillian, but that's a discussion for another time. Yeah, Munilal is my smoothie. Everybody know that. I'm saying all of that to say to you, Philip. There were people living on the 9th floor, and because of bad eggs and bad apples, they had to walk from the 9th floor to the ground floor because they would destroy the elevator. They would mash up the lighting. I always had to be in HDC Monday morning for a reason about this type of thing. So starter homes I will not support. However, I will support giving people land to construct homes.
When I say starter homes, I don't mean the state builds it for you, you know. I am telling you that there are means that you can build a starter home for $100,000. The state gives land to people all over the place. Why the state can't provide land for people to come and build communities and give them the means to build their own home?
Philip?
I agree with you. I'm not supportive of these ghetto complexes.
Yes.
That doesn't
It
work.
can't work.
That is not a community.
It can't
You
work.
cannot build a filing cabinet and say you're filing people away. Human beings have needs. And we have to have all of our planning, all of our conversations must be based on the fact that we take into account the fact that human beings have needs.
I'm reading some of the comments on your posts. This look no different from the comments that you would see in a UNC group or chatter. So I think you may want to, if you have an admin that manage your page, you may want to take a look at that. It's not welcoming. I'm just saying, I'm on your live while I'm watching my live. And I'm trying to get the feel of both lives.
No, this is my personal profile. And I want to tell you this. Every night I do a live video at 8 o'clock. And after that live video, so I talk for an hour. And then I go and listen to me for an hour as I read the real-time comments to delete the stupidness. Now, people tell me I delete stuff and I block people. But if you come on a wall to disrespect people and speak nonsense, what am I supposed to do?
This seems as this looks like something you will see in Kick Out P&M and one of them groups that you know
all
that
of them. No, but
I mean,
but all of those parties have the
and
same.
when you look at the
all of those
names,
parties have the
Philip,
same. And
of the people who make the comments, it makes you wonder if racism really don't exist.
No, but you see, some of these people is still a handful, and they come and they find all the walls and they find all the threads, and they come and they add the same nonsense. I watched the same guy today from the UNC attack me on 4 different groups. In a group called Trini Let It Out, and through Trini discussing real issues, and Trinidad and Tobago cars for sale, I bounced up the same gentleman I never see before. And each time, he got a little more disrespectful until I had to, and I'm trying to have a conversation until I have to block him. Because I can't follow you around the internet, trying to answer the stupidness you're speaking. So if you tell me that you see that on the live feed now,
I'm seeing it now, and I'm reading some of the comments, and I'm wondering, okay, you just invited me to your meeting. And I'm saying, you know what? I'm going to go. I'm going to carry the radio station. We may even carry a meeting live.
Do that.
But coming down there to have to deal with this type of thing that you're
you know
seeing
what
here, Philip, I would prefer not
You would
to.
never get that in real life, though. And that's the thing.
It's
A lot of these
crazy.
people, no, but you see, I want to tell you something. My Facebook is open to the world. So you can't say these are my members or my friends.
Nobody is supporting you. They're begging people to share your life. They're wondering why you're here. I mean, it's a series of things that's happening on your page as we speak.
No, but don't lump every negative together. And yesterday on your wall, I watched people had a confrontation with a woman who slowly but surely brought their confrontation back to the point where she wasn't fighting with anybody. She had a woman named Kizzy. She handled herself so beautifully that I had to invite Kizzy to come to the office on Saturday. I said, Kizzy, I need to meet you. And she said, I was always coming. And you see, the politics on fire, people not trusting one another. So they come in at Philip Alexander with a preconceived notion. They come in at Aisha Wells with a preconceived notion, and they have a lot of people. The fact that that post you shared came up on multiples. You see the post you shared about me and that little boy?
Yeah.
That edited post came up on so many walls at the same time that I am to believe that that came from inside the belly of the beast. That somebody planned that and distributed it like talking points. Let's attack Philip here. And that's what they do. You can't get sidelined and you can't get distracted by small talk because like Kizzy proved yesterday, we could disagree and end up agreeing. If at the end of the day what we want is a better country, people will slowly unclench their fists as they get to know each other.
I want to go to the lines because people say, well, we've been talking, we've been ignoring them. So we're going to go to the lines. I want to openly, and I don't think it's happening on my page, but I'm going to do it nevertheless, openly condemn anyone making racist comments or anything alluding to race and racism on my life. But I'm hoping Philip can do the same that's going on now on his life.
I am asking everybody because the reality is, and we have something called the Wolf Pack. They lead the conversation and they guide the conversation away from foolishness. They come in.
They're absent today probably.
They're probably absent because I want this working time. But I want to say, listen people, come on. What we're trying to do here is get to a place where what we say we stand for, we have to live it more than anybody else. The standard for us is higher than everybody else. So let's raise our standards, please.
We have to raise the standard if we want to
Let's
go
raise
forward.
our standards.
The country cannot continue the
Cannot
way we're
continue.
going. Claire, I think you agree with
Cannot
that.
continue.
I agree
Cannot-
with that.
cannot
It
continue.
cannot continue.
We
the
will
way
end
we're
up in a
going.
crisis.
Yeah, we definitely going.
We will end up in a crisis.
Numbers to call 622-3303, 628-1158-718-874-3860. Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Aisha.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning to your guest here.
Good morning.
Hello, sir.
Yes, he said good morning to you. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Alexander. Mr. Alexander, how do you feel about proportional representation? And do you feel that proportional representation should be introduced in this country in contrast to the two-party system here? And what are my full benefits?
Am I answering
Thank
him?
you for sharing. Can you
Answer
take them
now?
two at a time?
Okay, yeah.
We're taking another call. Let's go. Good morning.
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 I voted for you.
Oh, God, yeah.
Anytime you put a ballot out there, I voted for you because your ideas are great. I don't know more people
Is it still out?
to be so mesmerized with their party and sticking for all these years. And they're not even thinking of what you're saying. These things are great. We have to change from PNM UNT stupidness and come out there because they're making black and Indian fight against each other outside here. That is the trap that we in. Thanks a lot. Hope you do better.
Thanks very much
Thank
for
you
that
for
call.
sharing.
Let me answer first one. But this
Yes,
speaker
fine.
outside here, real loud. Caller about proportional representation. I would honestly like for us to introduce a recall situation in the existing parliament before we look to upend the whole thing. Because there's a lot of work. Proportional representation works in functional countries. But as Aisha's been talking all morning, we have some steps to climb. We, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, have to raise our standards and clench our fists. We can't just fling ourselves at conversations. Proportional representation can work in the right circumstances, in the right environment. But I think that Trinidadians and Tobagonians love each other enough that if we get the ability to fire non-performing members of parliament and government and public offices, I think that would be a sufficient check and balance to how we vote now.
Clearly, Philip, the PEP party isn't, if an election is called tomorrow, prepared to contest 41 seats. So which means you're going to have to merge with somebody.
We have 28 constituency caretakers now building on the ground. We're 8 months old. But that is growing at a clip. And when you come Saturday, that might be 31. Because that is the focus.
Wait, hold on. So now you throw me in there just so you just throw me out here and wait for me to swim. I'm saying, if you have an opportunity, if an election is called, are you going to merge? And if so,
No.
what is going to be your principle for merging?
No.
Because the COP merged, but
No.
they were merging
We
and
can't
this
merge.
and that was done
We
and
can't merge.
it wasn't.
We can't merge.
So you're not going to merge with anybody?
We can't merge. At the end of the day, our policies are non-negotiable. Those 5 things, home ownership, security for all, affordable food, healthcare, and education, what we stand for on those 5 things, those are non-negotiable policies. You see that home ownership, 0 deposit, 0 interest for 30 years for first-time homeowners up to $1.5 million. That's non-negotiable. We insist on those things. And 28 seats. If we win 28 seats with the government.
Who's going to be your financiers? Every political party needs finance. You contesting an election here, you had to have a bag of money. I mean, they broke Jack, for God's sake.
The people of Trinidad and Tobago, at the end of the day, you hear, listen, this is the Aisha Wells show.
Right.
And the first 2 callers, one call with a proper suggestion.
My callers have proper
This,
suggestions.
no. People, my party expect that Philip going in there to get elected.
You're running in there, you can't stand up against them big spenders on the next side.
I'm just telling you. Philip say, they say you're going in the lioness, then you know where you're going? And your first 2 callers, your second caller called to support policy, not to support me, you know. He called to support policy because they like policy. You're doing it here. At the end of the day, our next man can have $1 billion to spend. All I have is the Aisha Wells show and we could get the message out. We don't need that $100 billion.
So you're saying you're not interested in large campaigns?
We cannot, unless, no, you could come and give us $1 billion, but you can't attach anything to it other than a better Trinidad and Tobago. We've done this. Aisha, you and I are bright enough to be in the parliament today. You and I, if what we wanted was to feather our nest or get ourselves in position, we in government now. To try and build a new party from scratch outside of those 2 parties and then go back and join with one, that's the textbook definition of insanity.
I hear you. Let's go. Hello, you live.
Good morning, Mr. Aisha. Good morning, Philip Alexander.
Good morning, sir.
Philip, I will tell you, you were trying for a long piece in a long country. The 2 political parties will always divide the 2 political parties. And then you road children will just come, come, go, everything go with just so.
Thank you for sharing. Let's go. Hi, you live.
Yes, hello. I must confess I was one of them. When I saw the post, I was highly upset. Still a bit upset because, I find we always being used to put forth somebody's political agenda, but that's not what I want to talk about. Let's face it, Trinidad and Tobago have 2 major parties. We have seen time and time again, every third party is either spoiling the will or they come to join with another party. Realistically speaking, it's almost impossible for a third party to win major seats where they can affect major change. So how does this man expect to affect major change in the country when that is the history of the country? Our people that get divided will always vote UNC, will always vote PNN, he's looking for the little bit in between. So you have to actually join with somebody to affect major change. You know what I mean? So how is he alone, standing alone, going to affect major change?
Thank you so much for sharing.
Answer her?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the reality of our situation, our country's experience has shown that Trinidadians, when pressed upon, will make the change that they need. And that was prior to there being a social media. Now that we have social media, people get to discuss things on a level. Nobody's controlling your opinion. Nobody's controlling the news anymore. The public getting to have conversations, you, me, Aisha. We get to have exchanges and we get to come to conclusions. Yes, there will be people who not voted on sense or policy. They voted on party come hell or high water. But I think that we, at a point in time, our last 3 elections were almost minority results. Our last 3 elections, it almost dropped below 50%. The people not interested in what's going on. And if you get 40% of the electorate support you, and the 2 other parties share 50%, you win.
Can I give you some advice?
I want all of your advice. You are a wealth of knowledge.
Take into consideration staying away from too much of these social programs. Kamla Prasad Bissessa was prime example as to no matter how much you give people, they're going to take what you give them and they're not going to support you.
I don't think that is why.
She gave baby milk, she gave this, she gave that. She was up and down the place giving. And when there was an opportunity to vote every single election from 2010 to 2015, she lost. Prime example is teach a man to fish. Stop giving all of these. What is this gimme thing about?
It can't be stunts and it can't be gimmicks. If you're giving somebody something with a good heart and you say, you know what, all mothers should get 9 months maternity leave, fathers should get 3 months maternity leave, because children are important and the first impression that a child gets of the world is important to who that will become. Frederick Douglass said it is easier to raise functional children than to fix broken men.
Agreed.
We need to get to there. We need to get to there as a society. Our hand-ups shouldn't be handouts. When we say give people up to $1.5 million, zero deposit, zero interest for 30 years, we're not saying give it here for free. You have to, but even a minimum wage earner will be able to own a home, and that will make a difference. To the caller who asks how we think we're going to do it without joining anybody, we in this for the long haul. We are going to make a difference, if not this election, the next election, because people need to see that you're not just in this for office or position.
I want to remind you, it is simple business. If you had a product selling for $150 US some years ago, and the same product is selling for $45 today, your budget cannot be the same. The reason for saying this is because we have oil and gas up until before 2009, $950 a barrel. We balling, we all over. Balling is an example for showing off, right? $45 a day, we can't afford to live that lifestyle anymore. What we have to do is find a way to make do with what we have in times like this.
They're watching you and hearing my words. I can't contradict you. How does the Minister of Finance not know that? How does the Minister of Finance not know cut your cloth to suit? How are we not 2 years into this recession not talking? Why isn't there a national consultation on diversification of the economy? Why are we so wed to oil and gas prices? Why can't we as a nation say, okay, we need $45 a barrel and that's what we have? How do we get us to the equivalent of $60 a barrel? What else do we have to do as a country? What else do we have to build, make, grow? What? That's the conversation we need to have, because you and I, if we start to talk now, idea after idea after idea, why don't we get into agriculture? Why we don't focus on tourism? Why we don't do joint venture public-private sector with international companies? Why? Why they not leading that conversation?
I'm going to go back to the lines. Let me say good morning to those of you sending those messages. And of course, those of you wanting the numbers to call. Hi, you're live.
Good morning, Aisha Williams.
Hey, how are you doing, William?
I'm fine. I hear him, but to sway 15 and 14,000 people, Aisha, it's very hard. Because there are some people they will be with you, they will ride with you. And when they reach that booth, they do something else. I see them my own too, I have know them. Because I work an election, I have 15, 20 people from one area, and that area gets 6 votes. So I know how they're going to think. So they will tell you, yes, and we go vote for you, but when you hear the reach of that booth, you're on your own. You understand that?
Caller?
Hello?
My mic live?
Yes,
because
my mic is on. Sorry.
No.
Yeah. Thank you, William.
Mr. Williams, thanks a lot for that. And at the end of the day, that has been our experience. But the reality is for you and me, and the fact that you made the call, and I'm sure you fight up to get that call through. The fact that you made that effort to get the call, to give me that warning and that admonition and the advice, is because you know and you want better. And what we are seeing is that there are plenty people who know and want better too. So we have to keep fighting for them.
Thank you for sharing. Hi, good morning.
Hi, morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Certification, I've been hearing that since a little boy. But you know, I was checking lately that the price of aluminum is doing very well. And we had an opportunity to have an aluminum smelter, which had started. So we have been early in the business, so we're assured have been finished, and we will be benefiting from the aluminum, which would have sprung off small business to feed the major business of the aluminum. But then again, I think, but people keep talking about diversification and they look towards the government to do the diversification. I think the private sector needs to play a big role in that. That they need to, because in Trinidad, it's two things that's killing the country. That the private sector look forward to the to start it, and the citizens themselves, the citizens is too much a handout that they expect the government to do everything for them, educate the children. They want free gasoline. All the government did was just remove the subsidy from the two major gases, which is the premium and the super. And people call in and just take off some of the diesel. And they don't understand that the government is paying part of your bill for you. So unless you could change the mindset of the people and then with the ideas that you have and want to take the country forward, I don't see anything happening. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. I'd like to answer him on those 3 points that he raised, because answering you on the 3 points that he raised, Colm Imbert himself said 5 years ago that you cannot touch the subsidy. It is a levy paid by the importers and the exporters that have nothing to do with us. We are not the ones subsidizing it. So that is, he said to the then Minister of Finance, Larry Hawaii, that you are breaking the law, that you're taking subsidy money and using it in the budget. And that is a fact that we have to confront and resolve. The second point that you raised about the smelter, I am not sure as to the science as to why so many people stood up against aluminum smelting in Trinidad and Tobago from an environmental protection position, and I think that we should all look into that. But the last thing that he raised before he left, he's actually right and he's totally wrong, and it's this: that government leads the way in diversification because government cuts the road. A clear example is Patrick Manning built Intech Park in Wallafield. Have you ever been to Intech Park? Have you ever been?
Yes. In fact, I did some work there just recently with a company that's in the park. Only one tenant in this
Only
building.
one tenant. How long that there now? 10 years now.
Yeah.
We've spent hundreds of millions of dollars. We are so selfish and backward looking. Imagine if you had say for the next 10 years, any company in the world that want to come to Intech Park free. Because it lie down there in the bush eating it now. The nature is reclaiming Intech Park. If you go up there, you see it's covered in trees and bush. We spending money to maintain an empty industrial park that we could have let companies come here and set up rent-free, because the same money we didn't get having it empty is the same money we wouldn't have get. But they would have employed people, and those people would have been contributing to the economy.
I'm going to go back to the lines. You're live.
Yes, Aisha, good morning.
Good morning, my love.
To you and your guest in the studio.
Good morning, ma'am.
Aisha, your guest is speaking of a young man who he saw wiping windscreens, and he said that probably a second person is collecting part proceeds. Did he ask the young man? Okay, if there was a second person existing, and if he didn't, then that was the opportunity for him to ask instead of him coming to say he sings. Because when you're coming to speak, you speak positivity, because that is the opportunity where he could have taken the young man, speak with him, and probably helped him. Another question is, he said that racism doesn't exist. I shall let him come to the south and see it exists. Have a nice morning. I think this gentleman, he's trying, but I don't think he has the answer. Thank you, and Aisha.
Thank you so much. And that's my point. There are people who you will tell, yes, racism don't exist, but for those of us who see differently, like I'm explaining to someone now while commenting on your page, because that is what I do on my show. My show is an interactive show.
Right.
So if I'm streaming live on YouTube, I have 130-something people that I check in every now and again with. My show is streaming live on Facebook. There are people that I comment with, and my show is streaming live on your page. I'm commenting with people there. And the attitude, Philip.
No, but my show live every night from 8 to 9, right? And I know because by the time the show done, there's 2,000 comments, and you have to go through and read every one. But you see, the lady made a point that is her experience. And there's this saying that children learn what they live. If you raise children in an environment that has no racism, it's all about tolerance.
But some of these people commenting are parents. What do you think they're teaching their children at home?
But absolutely. But the great thing is, the saying from long ago that it takes a village to raise a child, that is truer now than ever before, because children now have access to social media from a very early age. They see the wrong and they see the right. But you know, and you've had interaction with children, that children have naturally good hearts. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to damage a person to the point where they become a racist, you know. There's a reason racism is dying. It's because human beings naturally do not hate.
I hear you, but we're still a very long way from getting to that point. If you had been saying this conversation, let's just say a couple years ago, you may have gotten the same opposition you're getting today. Moral of the story is we're yet to come away from that.
Yep.
We live so many different lives in this country
Correct.
that we can't relate to each other.
A rising tide lifts all boats. We need to identify what is the minimum standard of living for Trinidadian and Tobagonian and make sure that they get that. Let us make sure that nobody's falling below that line. They say that you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar, but we've never had a government that understood that. They understand handouts. You talk about
I beg to disagree. Every race has made it under the PNM government. PNM has been in power the longest, Philip, let's be real. And everybody started off hold on, they started off from point A and they got to point B.
That means,
to the extent where they can now turn around and say PNM should have do this or PNM should have do that.
That may be so, but I want to tell you
everybody made it under the PNM.
I want to tell you this. We don't have $3 trillion of anything to show. We've had 55 years of mismanagement and abuse. People have eat by, squeaked by, and scraped by. People have gotten to where they went in life, not because of governments, a lot of the time in spite of governments. Trinidad should not be in the condition it is in today. And everybody who's ever held public office knows that they should hold their head in shame that the country continues to be like this. We just buried Clive Panton. We buried Lincoln Myers. We buried Sir Ellis Clark. I'm just bringing up names to show you. We buried Raoul Panton. Names of people who've been in the public conversation. Keith Smith. We've been in this conversation. We're having this conversation. Sparrow sing a song we like it so 30 years ago. Gypsy sing Sinking Ship 25 years. Kurt Allen 10 years ago. All of these people approaching the conversation from if we don't fix it, we'll end up in a crisis. How could we still be here? How could Port of Spain still be so nasty? How could Sanford...
Because of the mentality of the people.
And you catch
there are some people you could put in a pigsty and they'll make it into a palace, you know.
Exactly.
And there are some people you will put in a palace and in a day they turn it into a pigsty.
Okay.
The mentality of the people stink.
But mentality comes from somewhere. And this is where leadership comes in. And molding minds and creating proper functional characters is what we're supposed to be doing. Frederick Douglass was a slave. Frederick Douglass was a slave. He ended up in the Congress, teach himself to read and write. The reality of our situation in Trinidad is we've been using vinegar for so long. The vinegar of racism amongst other things. Racist voting, racist politics is the reason this country is as broken as it is today. And until we become one people under one flag, nothing going to change.
We have the news to take in a short while, but we're going to, you gotta go?
I have other things to do. But I want to tell you, I enjoy this show so much, I wish I didn't make any other appointments because I want to come back.
Well, you thought we'd end up in a cuss out or
They
what?
tell me, Philip, she going to beat you up.
Nah,
they
that's
say,
not
Philip,
me.
she going to beat you up.
And one thing I want to say is that I always keep my promise. Like I said, come in, we're going to have a fair discussion, and I definitely wanted to do that.
And I really appreciate it very much. I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate all your callers and all those who didn't get through. But I would like to come back if you would have me again. I swear, I clear the evening. However long your show is. But there are other people in this party that you also need to talk to and see their perspective and why they are in the Progressive Empowerment Party. And it would help you build that out. But if the next time I come on the show is not between now and next week Saturday, I really look forward to seeing you as our special guest at noon, 19 Stanmore Avenue. This Saturday is open to the public.
All right, so I'll definitely keep you posted. Thank you for coming in again,
very,
Philip.
very, very
and
much.
We'll stay away from running into each other on social media.
I think you are my new best friend as of today.
We're going to stay away from running into each other on social media for now. I'm going to back off and give you space
Let me shut this thing down now. Thanks to everybody who's looking, viewing.
Yes, you're welcome. So people, we're going to continue